Okay, here we go. Cat and Dan talk. Oh shit, I can't spell my own name. Cat and Dan.
Our vast YouTube audience is watching us live.
Oh dear. Okay, I'm just putting in a title for Facebook. Sorry, guys.
The pressure's on.
Hi, guys. Whoops, real estate and ending. Ah, geez, lending. Okay, there we go. There's that. Say something. That's my cat. Live. Okay, there we go. Okay.
There we go. All right.
Okay. All right. And then I'll go live on TikTok. And then you guys will be live on TikTok. We'll be live on TikTok. Hi, guys. Facebook and YouTube, right, Dan?
And YouTube. Yes, that's correct. That's
okay.
Right, Kat. Yep.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kat Howard with Windermere Real Estate in Woodinville, Washington. Streaming from my home today in Clearview. Love Clearview. Sort of horse country. Turns out it's drone country, too. Yep, saw a drone.
Another drone.
No, not another one, Dan. I'm still
Same one.
Same one. We won't get into details, but it was somewhat unpleasant encounter.
Huh.
Watch out for those damn drones. Wish you could shoot them down. Personal opinion. All right, I'm off topic. Okay, and so join with me, Dan Mellis with Nexa Mortgage. He has access to just about any kind of loan program out there known to man. So he can find you a loan for anything.
That's pretty much. That's
kind of how I understand it.
That is correct.
Nexa Mortgage. Also, I will say he has taken a personal vow of poverty to ensure my clients get the lowest loan rate available to man.
And I take that vow very seriously, Kat. Very seriously.
I know. You do take that vow very seriously.
Yes,
and you have done a heck of a job for my clients.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that, Kat.
2 years. It's been amazing. So, and given where interest rates are right now, and we can't really explain why they're over 7 still, but given where they're at, it is nice to know that you can call a loan officer and actually get a straight answer as to what your rate will be. And Dan, what are rates today?
7.09%, Kat.
Still over 7.
That's a 30-year fix. Yes.
All right. Okay. Well,
but
it is what it is. We're, fingers crossed it's going to come down over the next couple of months. We've been saying that, I think, for a couple of years now.
Well, and it did come down, and it went back up.
Yes. There have been little valleys. Yes. Very short-lived, I might add. Very short-lived.
Very short-lived.
Be ready to jump when the interest rate hits the bottom. You got to go, okay, sign me up, Dan. I'm refinancing today.
If the rate is low enough to get me off my napping bed and to give a client a call that, hey, the rates are looking pretty good. They're probably looking pretty good. Yes, you probably
because you may have one day. You may.
I'll tell you what, it's been a really crazy last 3-4 months, since September.
Yes.
I will say this. In all seriousness, I do think the wind is now at our back. I do think we've seen a peak in interest rates. It's already established. I do think that going forward, you're going to start to see weaker employment numbers over the next 2-3 months. We'll find out soon enough, in a couple weeks, we'll find out. But if we start to see weaker employment numbers, and then it's a shoo-in that the next 2-3 months we're going to see better inflation numbers. So that combination of better inflation numbers, and that is almost a shoo-in, right? Combination of that and I think weaker employment numbers should be a decent 1-2 punch, if you will, to bring rates a little bit lower. So I hope it's more than a little bit.
Yes, we do. Anyway, we'd like to see some of our clients be able to refinance is what we'd like to see.
Well,
Yeah.
or just you
And
have a
also
better.
over the next couple of years, drop their MI if they've got
That,
MI on their
that
payments. So
that's right. It's just to bring the overall cost of owning a home down. It would be very
yeah,
nice.
the monthly cost. Yes, yes, yes. So
So
anyway, so Dan, we've got a couple topics to cover today. We're going to cover the county data, Snohomish and King, Pierce counties to see how they're faring. I will say the market's picking up nicely, just as anticipated. We were, last year it pretty much did the same thing. The year before that, January took off like a rocket ship. It's looking like we're kind of in that same situation this
right.
year. We already have multiple offers in Snohomish and King counties that are setting things ablaze. So the poor buyers, it's all I got to say. We're going 10 to 20% over asking price in a lot of cases. We've got quite a few more sellers setting offer review dates. We're in the upper 30s and 40 percentiles for sellers setting offer review dates. And most of those sellers in Snohomish and King counties are making their offer review date. So it turns out it is a good time to be setting an offer review date for the properly prepared properties for the market. And you do have to check your price point. You got to check your market to make sure that where you fit in the slot is actually those people are setting offer review dates. Because if they're not, that may not be the thing for you to do. Right. So when it comes to offer review dates, you kind of do want to be part of the herd. So you want to, you don't want to be the only one setting an offer review date unless you got a view. You got a big, beautiful rambler because everybody wants a rambler, including me. Or you have something really spectacular about your property that is very unique and makes it especially attractive. In that case, you absolutely, regardless of what anybody else is doing, set that offer review date. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, you kind of do want to be part of the herd. You want to make sure there are other sellers setting offer review dates in your price point and in your immediate neighborhood and area before you start doing that. You don't really want to be the one-off because a lot of buyers don't appreciate offer review dates unless they're really looking at most of the nice homes having set one, and then they have to acquiesce and just kind of go along with it. So, but we'll also talk about what strategies for buyers and how to get around those offer review dates, because I'm not a fan either when I'm representing a buyer, although all day long for sellers. So anyway, depends on what side of the coin you're on, you guys. So we're going to cover both sides today. But Dan, let's talk about something that's really interesting. And this pertains to now. So I looked at data for the last 6 months in King County, so July through December. And what I try to come up with is a chart that shows sellers how much market time costs them, right? So if you're on the market 0 to 7 days, or you miss the 0 to 7 days and you wind up getting a contract between day 8 and day 14, what's that difference? What's the average price per square foot difference on what you'll receive as a seller? And we just worked that on down to 61 to 120 days. And you guys, it's a direct correlation between time on market and how much less you actually get for your property price per square foot. So it's interesting, right? Whenever there's a direct correlation, it's interesting data. So if in King County, your average price per square foot for that 6-month period was $554 if you got off the market within the first week, right? That's average price per square foot. So if you were on the market 8 to 14 days, your price per square foot went down to $524 average price per square foot. And so that's a 5.4% difference. And so based on the average price of a property in King County, which was for the past 6 months, I can tell you, it was, let's see, $1,213,300. So that was the average price of a home in King County from July through December 2024. So based on that, if you look at the 5.4% difference, that's going to give you a total of $65,702 on average. It's going to cost a seller with an average price home in King County if they miss that first 7 days on the market. So that's just something for you to chew on. That's an average, right? So Some sellers are going to lose less. Maybe they even, make oddly more than maybe they would have if they sold during the first 7 days. But on average, it's going to cost the seller $65,000.
Well,
So
and the other side of that coin, it seems like, Kat, is if you're a buyer, maybe not to get so mesmerized by the new listings coming on, and take a look at the old fruit in the basket, and it's maybe 31 to 60 days, and you get a 14% discount. That's a strategy you could look at to save a little bit of money as well.
And so this data, you guys, is based on the last half of last year, right? So July through December. So what's not being reflected as much in this data is that January through June data, which there's a lot more listings that sell over asking price. Although you can certainly see that if you sell in the first 7 days, you're getting 5.4% more for your house than if you hit the 8 to 14 day bucket. So there is still a significant difference between that first week and that second week of getting off the market. So when I hear sellers say, oh, well, I don't mind if we're on the market for 3 or 4 weeks. Well, I do. Because you're going to get less money. My job is to maximize the return on your investment. And so for you to get the actual best return on your investment, it means that you should sell ideally within the first 7 days. If you don't, at least within the first 14 days. Not every house is going to get sold within the first 7 days, but that's a goal. It's a goal. Right. And so you can see from the data that, progressively, the first week it costs you 5.4% if you don't get under contract that first week. The third and fourth weeks, it costs 11.2%. That's 11.2% difference. And so that equates to $130-something thousand. So you really want to get off the market within the first week or two, if possible. So, and you can see it gets dire from there. If you stretch it out to 61 to 120 days, you've probably done some price reductions. And at the end of the day, it's going to cost you 17.5% on average. So that's a couple $100,000. I don't recommend it. So if you can, it depends on when you list your property during the year, but right now is a great time to list a home in January. Most of them are going to go off the market in the first 7 days, and we'll go over that data here in just a second. But it's impressive what's going on out there. So for sellers, buyers, we have strategies. We need to talk. So. Okay, so that's so King County. It's a great chart to take a look at. It's just for general reference, right? So it's it's not a hard and fast rule of thumb, but it gives you some general direction of what happens with sales prices for homes as they sit on the market, because those are averages, guys. So numbers don't lie.
You want to flip over to Snohomish?
So so you want to talk about how much market time cost sellers in Snohomish County, Dan?
Yeah, looks about the same.
It's very similar, and it's covering the exact same time frame. So July through December, so the last 6 months is what we took a look at, and we've got an average sales price in Snohomish County for that particular length of time, and this is single-family residential, not condos, not new construction, no manufacturers, and no attached townhomes. We had an average sales price of $876,917. That was the average sales price in Snohomish County for that 6 month time frame. So if we take a look at the first 0 to 7 days, we had an average price per square foot of $438. Now, if you missed that first 7 days and you sold within day 8 to day 14 on the market, your average price per square foot fell to $415 a square foot. And that's a differential of 5.3% less than had you sold during the first 0 to 7 days. Again, these are averages, but that's almost the same as King County. So King County was 5.4, Snohomish County is 5.3. The difference between week 1 and week 2. Week 2, you're a lot less likely to get multiple offers, right? I think that's mainly the difference there, because sellers are still able to hang on to their price the second week on the market, typically speaking. So that first 7 day data is really more indicative of, what happens with, multiple offers. It's more reflective of going over asking price, right? So, and then if you dip down to the 15 to 30 day bucket, which means you've been on the market now 2 to 4 weeks, it's the average price per square foot goes down to $407. And so that is 7.1% less than if you sold during the first week. And that would equate to $62,261 for the average home sold at the average sales price in Snohomish County. So significant numbers here. They are significant numbers. And if you drop down to the, see, I have this thing, don't interrupt me. It still does. My phone still rings. I don't know why that doesn't work on my iPhone. Anyway, so if you drop down to the 31 to 60 day bucket, your average price per square foot, as you can see there, is $391. And that's 10.7% less than if you sold during the first 0 to 7 days. So, and then if you drop down to 61 to 120 days, all hell breaks loose, and it's 13.2% less average sales price or average price per square foot for Snohomish County if you're on the market the 61 to 120 days. So $380 a square foot on average. So it's and these numbers are reliable. It doesn't matter what time frame I pull these for. It's always like this. It's not like I have to go through and take a look and see which ones work, to prove a point. It's literally, I use these buckets every time: 0 to 7, 8 to 14, 15 to 30, 31 to 60, and 61 to 120. I've done this, I think, 3 or 4 times now. Yeah. With different time frames in the counties. Yeah. And in most counties, it holds true. You can get to some of the lesser populous counties and it's less meaningful, right? So Mason County, they don't have as many sales, so you have less data to pull from, and it can be skewed one way or the other fairly easily. But with these bigger counties, it holds true.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So anyway, that's Snohomish County. And Pierce County,
it's the same thing. Pierce, yeah.
It's the same thing, you guys. It's just to a lesser degree, right? So Pierce County doesn't have quite as wild of a market as we do in Snohomish and King counties. We have much wider swings in price range from January to April, May, and then coming back down again. They are much more stable, much closer to a more balanced market than Snohomish and King County, where they're very heavily seller favorable. So in Pierce County, you had your average sales price of $612,501. That's your average sales price. And that was for the entire year last year. So the data I grabbed in Pierce County was for the entire year, January to December. And so lots of data here to keep the numbers accurate. So 0 to 7 days, $317 a square foot for your average price per square foot for a home that sold in Pierce County over the last year. If you missed your first 0 to 7 days, it only cost you $6 a square foot, which was 1.9%. So not as big a hit if you didn't make that first 7 days. So not as critical in Pierce County. They don't have nearly as many multiple offer situations and as many competitions down there as we do in Snohomish and King counties. So the 15 to 30 day bucket does cost the seller 3.9% from, as compared to if you sold during that first 7 days. And that would equate to almost $24,000 price difference, average price per square foot. And then if you drop down to the 31 to 60 day bucket, you ended up with $295 per square foot average, on average price per square foot. Feels not safe. Stumbling over my words here. So that cost you, the 31 to 60 day bucket cost you 6.9%, as opposed to if you sold during the first 7 days, right? So not a huge hit, but still $42,000 for the average sales price in Pierce County. So just over $600,000 for the average sales price. 61 to 120 days, 293 average price per square foot is what you drop down to, which is a 7.6% lower than if you sold within the first 7 days on the market. So it just, it's consistent throughout the counties, whichever one you choose to look at. It does follow that trend line, which is down.
Right.
So anyway, I find that
down
interesting.
and to the right.
It's interesting for sellers mostly, but it also is interesting information for buyers, because buyers can take a look at that data and they can say, this is kind of where I can expect, maybe expect some concessions. As the seller sits on the market longer, we can expect maybe a 5% differential.
Right.
Right. So, and that would be on average, right? So you can have some sellers that are priced closer to accurate than other sellers. So it is going to be all over the board, but it gives you a general feeling for, how much the seller should potentially be giving.
Right.
So,
right.
Especially after that first couple of weeks, right? Because the first bucket, the 0 to 7 days, oftentimes includes multiple offer situations, and so that can be artificially higher, right? So 0 to 7 day bucket is probably artificially higher than the listing price because of multiple offer situations in our counties, Snohomish and King counties. So the 8 to 14 day bucket, that's more something where sellers are probably getting closer to full price. And then from there, what you see the differential as you go down that list. So by the time you get to the 15 to 30 days in King County, you see an 11.2% difference between the 0 to 7 days, but you see 7% difference between the second week and the 15 to 30 days. So that's where you're looking, as a buyer, you may expect about 7% off the price at that point. So just, so it's useful for both buyers and sellers, that sort of data.
Yeah.
So, Dan,
Yes,
should we
Kat?
move on to the regular stats by Cat?
Let's move on to the stats by Cat, because it's some really interesting stats. You want to start with King County?
Yeah, let's start with King County.
All
So,
right,
hey, you guys, if you have any questions for myself or Dan Mellis, he's a longtime lender in the area. I don't even want to say I'm an old timer, but I've been doing this since 1999. We don't use the word older anymore. We don't even really like the word very experienced. Anyway, okay, let's look at King County. So let's see, we've got King County is down to 1.2 months supply of inventory. That has contracted slightly. 61% of sellers got under contract within the first 7 days on the market if they listed their home between January 5th and January 11th. So that's the time frame where I took a look at the effectiveness of offer review dates, and 76% of 76% of sellers made their offer review date that week. So setting an offer review date in King County seems to be a pretty good idea. So I just wanted to add that, since we pulled that data a couple weeks ago for that week.
Right. And that's up from a couple weeks ago too. So
it is. So more and more sellers are setting offer review dates, but also a greater number of listings are coming on the market. So I think that going forward, the percentage of sellers setting offer review dates is gonna, I hate to say it, but I think it's gonna skyrocket. Yeah. I think it's gonna become the norm by February and March. I think we're gonna see 75% of sellers setting offer review dates. So don't like to make predictions, because you're either right or wrong.
Well, so the thing is,
on the down low in case I'm wrong.
But if you are, it's good information, because if you are looking at houses, and let's say you're a first-time home buyer or something like that, I hate to give a blanket statement unless you got lots of money tucked away, but it wouldn't make much sense to be even looking at the new listings. It would make a lot more sense just to go straight to the bargain bin. So
and we're gonna go through that. We're gonna talk about what are the strategies that went out of my Stats by Cat today. If you guys actually are subscribed, if you want to subscribe, drop me a DM or get a hold of me, and I'll put you on my list. I do stats for Snohomish and King counties and some of the surrounding counties as well. Over in Western Washington, over by the peninsula, Kitsap and Mason, some of my pet counties, Skagit. Anyway, so feel free to put in a request for that. But I also pick a topic every week, and this week I kind of have two. The market time cost sellers money, but also I wanted to get out there winning strategies. How do we get a buyer into a house when we've got so many offer review dates that are starting to be set? So, I think we've got 42% of sellers that offer review dates in King County this past week, right? So we're talking about, last week, 42%. So this week will probably be higher if they're paying attention, if the listing agents are paying attention to what's happening out there. So I'm a stats person, so I'm watching this stuff like a hawk. So plus I'm a listing agent and a buyer's agent. So my clients are on a need to know basis. So anyway, so 58% of sellers in King County got under contract within the first 14 days on the market if they listed their home between December 22nd and January 4th. So that's a big number too, but that does take us back over the holiday. So it's kind of really not consequential. Not very many homes were listed during those 2 weeks, to be fair. And so some of the shocking numbers for this week are 50% of the listings that are on the market right now have been on the market. 50% of the listings that are on the market right now have been on the market for 60 days or more. That is something a buyer can sink their teeth into. So if you don't want to compete for the new listings, then you can simply start looking at listings that have been on the market more than 30 days. You don't need to, look at just the ones that have been on 60 days or more. The ones that have been on 30 days or more, that's 62% of the listings, guys. That's a big amount. That's a lot of listings. So there's going to be stuff out there. And hey, listen, if the seller hasn't budged in price for the 60 days, don't bother. They're stubborn. Hi guys, thanks for the hearts. Because if you've been on the market 60, 90, 120 days and you haven't done any price concessions, you're probably missing the mark. There's going to be certain inherent challenges that will warrant a seller to be stubborn about reducing price because they feel like they've already kind of compensated for the inherent challenge, but it's going to take a specific person to buy that property. That would be the only exception. I'm okay with that. I think that if you have an inherent challenge, but you've got this fantastic view, right? You've got this steep driveway, it is quite okay to just hold your price for a while. I wouldn't say endlessly, but you might give it 30, 45 days, certainly longer than you would for just a traditional home in a traditional neighborhood. So, but anyway, some food for thought there. So should we do Snohomish County?
Let's bring Snohomish up. There you go.
So Snohomish County. So let's see here. So Snohomish County, you guys, is down to 1 month supply of inventory. So that's the lowest that they've been down to for quite a while. So 1 month supply. 58% of sellers got under contract within the first 7 days on the market if they listed their home between January 5th and January 11th. 54% of sellers in Snohomish County got under contract within the first 14 days on the market if they listed their home between December 22nd and January 4th. Again, those are holiday weeks in there. Not very many homes hit the market. It's nice to see that more than half of them did go off the market within the 14 days, but something I would not recommend typically. You would not normally want to go on the market during the holidays. There just aren't enough buyers out there. So if your home doesn't fit one of the few buyers that's out there, then you're going to be kind of left sitting, and you do not want to be left sitting on the market. Market time costs sellers money. We'll go back to that chart that we had up at the beginning of today's show, if you want to call us a show. Live stream. How about that? Anyway, so 38% of sellers in Snohomish County did set offer review dates this past week. And again, I do anticipate that number is going to continue to increase as we move into a more competitive cycle for buyers. 47% of listings currently on the market have been on the market more than 60 days in Snohomish County. And the ones that have been on the market over 60% of listings have been on the market over 60 days in Snohomish County. So over 30 days, sorry. 60% of the current active listings have been on the market for over 30 days in Snohomish County right now. So lots of choices for buyers that are not new listings. So if you don't want to compete, let's go look at the time-worn ones.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, that's Snohomish.
Move on to Pierce.
Let's do Pierce.
Let's do Pierce.
So let's see here. 35% of sellers got under contract within the first 7 days on the market if they listed their home between January 5th and January 11th in Pierce County. 49% of sellers got under contract within the first 2 weeks on the market if they listed their home between December 22nd and January 4th. And again, that's holiday time. So not very many sellers did go on the market. They were quite lucky that almost half of them went off the market during that 14 days. Not something I would recommend. Wait till after the first of the year to go on the market. 19% of sellers set offer review dates last week in Pierce County. And that number is going up in Pierce County too. It's just still relatively low. Last year, we didn't see the number of competitions in Pierce County like we did in Snohomish and King counties, but I would still expect, they've got 19% setting offer review dates. I haven't checked the effectiveness of offer review dates in Pierce County, but I would imagine it's fairly good, although we're still at a level where I'm not sure you should be setting one in Pierce County. You really do want to be with the herd on that. So once you get up to 30-something% of sellers starting to set offer review dates, it looks a lot more attractive for sellers to do that, to join that trend. So we had 53% of listings that have been on the market for greater than 60 days right now, actively on the market, 53%.
Wow. Oh.
And if we look at how many have been on the market for 30 days, it's 70% of listings in Pierce County have been on the market for over 30 days right now. So you guys don't need to look at just the new listings. I know some of them are really cool. I see them. But at the same time, there can be very legitimate properties out there just sitting because the right buyer hasn't come along, right? So Pierce County has 1.4 months supply of inventory, and that stayed the same.
That's still pretty darn tight.
Yeah, Pierce County runs a little higher in inventory than Snohomish and King.
Yeah.
And to be fair, you guys, this year we have more inventory in all counties. So Pierce, Snohomish, and King all have more inventory this year than we did a year ago. And the MSI, the month supply of inventory, which is calculated by taking the total active listings and dividing the number of pending into that. And so when you see a number over 1, that means that more listings are on the market than went pending, right? That are pending. So most pendings, most places are pending for 14 to 45 days before they turn into solds. And so we take the total number of pendings and we divide that into the total number of active listings to get the month supply of inventory. So that's where that's coming from. So when you see that more than 1, then there's more active listings than what pending recently, right? Or that are pending. So just to give a little brief explanation as to how we get that number. So, and our MSI is higher this year than it was last year, as well as the inventory. And I would anticipate inventory continuing to go up this year overall, just because we're going to have, not only are we going to have estate sales, which has been the source of many listings since mid-2022, because we had the interest rates more than double. And so that kept everybody who had a nice 2 3/4 to 3.5% interest rate kind of locked in their home. No one was moving locally because you can't trade in a 3% interest rate for a 6.5 or now a 7.09 interest rate. It just makes moving sort of unaffordable or feel unaffordable for sure. So each year we have a few more listings coming on the market. I think it's opening things up, and we'll have more homeowners that will have interest rates 5% or higher than we have had in recent years past. So each year as we go forward, that number will grow, and there will be more homeowners that, as their families grow, will be able to buy locally and sell their home and buy another home, a larger home for their growing family, which people have not been doing the last few years, right? So people have really hunkered down and trying to stay in what they've got with the low interest rate,
Right.
which makes a lot of sense because interest rates went up a lot.
Yes, they did.
Right, Dan?
Yes, they did. I can verify that.
We eliminated a lot of lenders and a lot of realtors. Just saying, there's a lot fewer of us today than there were 2 years ago. So, not been amazing for the industry, but anyway. Okay, Mason County.
Mason County. Yes, we got Mason County up. What a week it's been for Mason County.
Hi, guys. Okay, Mason County. Yeah, so 20% of sellers got under contract within the first 7 days if they listed their home between January 5th and January 11th. 33% of sellers got under contract within the first 2 weeks on the market if they listed their home between December 22nd and January 4th. And that did include the holidays. So again, don't list your home during the holidays. But at least a third of them got under contract. Sometimes people don't have choices, right? So, you got to move when you got to move because of a job or whatever the situation is. So we had 8% of sellers in Mason County set offer review dates. They don't do that very often down there this time of year. So we probably had 1 or 2 set an offer review date. And that would be reserved for those houses or those homes with spectacular views or waterfront or have something that is pretty spectacular about them. 57% of the active listings are on the market have been on the market more than 60 days in Mason County. So pretty good number there. And 76% of listings have been on the market over 30 days in Mason County. So lots of choices for buyers. Over 3/4 of the listings have been on the market more than 30 days in Mason County. So if you want to have a regular negotiation and you don't want to compete, that's the way to go. Let's see. 2.5 months supply of inventory in Mason County. That's Mason.
And with that, do you want to go to Kitsap or do you want to go to Skagit?
Let's go to Skagit.
Skagit. There we are. Skagit.
Talk to my client that moved to Skagit County, Eric.
Oh, yeah.
He's fun.
Yeah.
So get talking about doing a flip over in Eastern Washington.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Excited about it.
Yeah,
I'm excited about it.
I am too. We'll see what comes to pass.
Yeah. Well, it's more affordable over there. I'm just saying. We had that conversation, Anyway, so Skagit County. So 29% of sellers got under contract within the first 7 days on the market if they listed their home between January 5th and January 11th. 44% of sellers got under contract within the first 14 days on the market if they listed their home between December 22nd and January 4th. Again, that's the 2 weeks of the holidays. And so fortunately, 44% of them did get under contract, but I would encourage people to let the holidays go by before they put their house on the market. 11% of sellers did set offer review dates in Skagit County last week. And 57% of sellers, 57% of homes, active homes on the market have been on the market more than 60 days in Skagit County. So that's a big number. We've got 74% have actually been on the market for 30 days or longer. So that's 74% in Skagit County have been on the market for 30 days or more. And actually, that's a typo. Skagit went out with the typo. Actually, that one didn't go out. I haven't sent that one out yet. So Skagit County, 62% of listings currently on the market have been on the market over 60 days. So if you want a regular negotiation, buyer wants to have their own inspection, take a look at the market warrant properties and just can't hurt to take a look at them.
Yeah, that's right.
And Skagit County down to 1.5 months supply of inventory. So
there you go. And then we want to go over to Kitsap.
Kitsap County. So we got 1.2 months supply of inventory in Kitsap County. 48% of sellers got under contract within the first 7 days on the market if they listed their home between January 5th and January 11th. 48% of sellers got under contract within the first 14 days on the market if they listed their home between December 22nd and January 4th. So again, that's a holiday week and holiday weeks, and not the best time to put your home on the market, but almost half of them got under contract, so not too bad. 17% of sellers did set offer review dates last week. It gets dicey setting an offer review date when you don't have more sellers setting them, unless you've got a special property.
Right.
53% of the current listings on the market have been on the market more than 60 days. So 53%. 70% have been on the market 30 days or longer. So if you're looking to find a home that you might be able to legitimately negotiate, take a look at those. And that's it for that. So I put together some really nice verbiage for stats by cat. Let's see. I'm trying to think of my topics in there. So we had two different strategies for not competing. So the two strategies involve, the first one is taking a look at market worn properties that have been on the market for 30, 60 days or more. Again, you may want to pass those that have been on the market and the sellers have been stubborn and they haven't done any price reductions recently, but certainly worth looking at because you might have a better chance of getting a regular normal negotiation and getting yourself an inspection, your own inspection and things like that. So the other strategy is to and I know this is, sometimes people have to lose a few competitions because the other strategy involves a bully offer, submitting a bully offer or a compelling offer. Now, a compelling offer is an offer that you would submit on a property where the seller has set an offer review date and you would like them to take your offer in lieu of them reviewing other offers on their offer review date. So you'd like them to take that property off the market and say, yes, Mr. Buyer, we're taking your offer. So what does it look like to create a bully offer or a compelling offer? It has to be over asking price, right?
Right.
So if you think the property is going to go between 10 and 20% over, or let's narrow that range a little bit. Let's say that it's a spectacular property. Maybe it's a horse property, right? Equestrian. Those are very sought after in our area. Woodville to Snohomish. It's horse country. Come on, man. We love our equestrian properties. There's one listed for 1.2. Pretty spectacular flat land. Now, do we think that property will go for 100 over? Or do we think it could wind up at 200 over? And let's just hypothetically say that we think it might wind up at, 200 over. So that would be what, like 17%, something like that. So then if to make a bully offer, to put together a bully offer, you'd probably want to come in about 12% over. So if you're talking something like 1.2, you'd be coming in about 10, 12% over, so 120 to 140 over asking price. And then hoping that seller would accept your offer. And so some of the other things you can do to sweeten that pot are get fully underwritten with your lender. That doesn't mean a pre-approval. That means fully underwritten. You're all the way through underwriting so that the only thing the lender needs is the property address and your homeowner's binder, right? And your title policy and escrow, right?
And an appraisal.
Right. Yes, Dan. Thank you, Dan. Yes, and an appraisal. Now, speaking of the appraisal, so we're going to need to be fully underwritten. We're going to need to be over asking price, which is uncomfortable when no one's competing with you to write an offer over asking price. It's very uncomfortable. That's why I said you might have to get beat out a couple times before you feel like you can do that. It's very uncomfortable because you're just flat out offering that seller like 10, 15% over what they're asking for no reason, right? Because there's no other offers on the table. but you do know that there's an offer review date, and you do feel like there's a lot of action out there, and that there are going to be more than one offer on that property. Otherwise, you don't need to do a compelling offer. You can just wait for the offer review date, and hope you're the only one.
Right.
So anyway, so you're going to need to be over asking price. You're going to need to be fully underwritten to look like cash. It's the closest thing you're going to get to cash, and still keep your financing contingency, right? So we want to do that if you're a bully offer. The other thing we want to do is we need to include an AD. That's called an additional down, and that is going to cover the seller in case of a low appraisal, because we are not going to have competing offers to help the appraiser justify the higher price that we're willing to pay. So in a traditional offer review setting, there's going to should be multiple offers that the seller receives if it's a successful offer review date that will support the higher price the seller is getting for the property over their asking price. In a compelling offer situation, there's going to be only your offer. So it is quite likely in January for that appraisal to come in low and be near asking price. And so what you would have to do as the buyer to make the seller happy, because it's all about the seller right now, is you'd have to have an additional down that would cover that potential spread. So let's say we're making an offer on $1 million property, and we're going to cover them by $150,000. So we want to write that additional down addendum to cover the difference in an appraisal if it comes in $150,000 low. So it doesn't need to do more than just cover the spread. What the listing price was minus what you're subtracted from what you're offering to pay for that property. So that's additional down. So you've got your over asking price, right? So you're offering over asking price. You're fully underwritten. You're including an AD, which covers the difference in case of a low appraisal for the seller. And you're also making sure that you're seeing an inspection. So the seller has either provided you with a seller procured inspection, which you get to take a look at before you make your offer. Now, if they've not done that, you have two choices. You can go ahead and hire an inspector prior to submitting your early offer and try to get one out there like first thing the next morning, do a verbal walkthrough. Those are less expensive, but still give you the gist of it if you want, or you can do a regular inspection, which are about twice as much more. But either way, you do have to have an inspection in my book. So you either do that, or we include a 24-hour inspection contingency with our bully offer or our compelling offer. So sellers are not going to want to see that, because that gives you 24 hours to get out of the contract. Right? Inspection contingencies are get out of jail free cards, quite literally. You can change your mind for any reason. You don't have to have the inspection. You can just change your mind. So, and the other thing about submitting a compelling offer is we do not release money directly to the seller as a non-refundable deposit. Don't do that. Do not do that. Buyers are doing it across the board right now in these multiple offer situations. I spoke with 20, 25 listing agents over the past couple of weeks. And in almost every single case where they had 4 or 5 or more offers, all the buyers were waiving everything and giving away non-refundable earnest money. So if you're the bully offer, the seller doesn't have those other offers in front of him, right? They only have yours. The expectation is not that you release earnest money directly to them. So I think that writing a bully offer, a compelling offer, is a great way to get in a house in a market where you're likely going to compete for the home you want. If you are that person who needs that home that is looks like the shiny object in our market. And so we've got 25% of the houses are getting under contract in multiple offer situations in Snohomish County. So something to be aware of. So if you think you're going to have to compete at a certain point, you may get tired of competing, because it's hard to compete against cash. It's hard to compete against other buyers that will waive everything. And they are out there, guys, in droves. There are agents out there that will have no problem having their clients give a huge non-refundable earnest money deposit to a seller. I have a problem. Don't do it. Don't do it. We don't have to do it, you guys. We don't have to do it. But we do have to use other strategies. It can involve the competitions. So, because you're not going to beat that, right? You don't beat that. You can't beat cash and you can't beat people waiving everything. But that could come back and bite those sellers in the butt if they did not provide a seller procured inspection, or if something goes wrong and they're not able to close. What happens to that non-refundable deposit that you gave to the seller? So sorry, I feel like I'm on a soapbox over here. Sorry about that, Dan.
No, it's compelling. It's really interesting.
I feel very strongly about buyers not giving away their rights, and we don't have to. We just have to make choices. So one of the choices we can make, if you don't like the idea of a compelling offer, because it's uncomfortable for me writing it. At the same time, it is a way to keep more of your contingencies in play and allow you to still get that house that you want. But if you're okay with looking at homes that have been on the market for a while, because there's plenty of them right now, then we can focus on those. And then we just negotiate normally. You don't have to worry about coming in over asking price, which is always just feels bad. So anyway, I put that in my stats by Cat today. I addressed offer review dates in half of it, and then the other half of it, I said in the flip side of this multiple offer situation that we're starting to get into, how our buyer is going to contend with those. And so that's kind of how I broke that down. Basically, you have two options. You can look at the older listings, or you can jump in and try to do a
fully offer.
Compelling offer. Yeah. And I have had really good success with the bully offers. It's not my favorite thing because you don't know at the end of the day how much the seller would actually get if you're competing. But what you do know after you've competed 10 or 12 times is that it's really tough to beat cash and tough to beat idiot buyers that are willing to waive everything. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah,
you can't compete against that. So the way to take control of that situation is to jump in and say, hey, I will give you over asking price.
So are you saying stupid wins every time?
I shouldn't have said that, but it makes me mad. It makes me angry that buyers are willing to waive things they shouldn't be waiving when we as realtors know that things can go wrong in the transaction and it could impact them financially.
Right.
So, and for buyers to waive inspections is another pet peeve of mine. Don't do it. It's not necessary. Let's go in, let's have an inspection before you make an offer. Even if it's multiple offers, we're better off to get a cursory verbal walkthrough for $300 or $400 than nothing at all. You need to know what you're buying.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
The average price in Snohomish County is like almost $900,000. The average price in King County is 1.2. That's you need to know what you're buying.
That's a lot of money. Yeah.
It's a lot of money. Anyway, so that's all packed in my stats by Cat this week. If you signed up for it, you probably have yours in your inbox now, Dan.
I do. I was just perusing my inbox, and there it is.
Yeah. So solutions for buyers on how to get into a house without competing. So yeah, that's the
way to go.
Not a bad way to go. Compelling offer it's tougher to swallow. Probably have to lose a few before you actually feel like you can do that and feel okay about it. I've had clients. I had a client buy a home in Mukilteo, and we had competed on the one 2 doors down like 2 weeks earlier. And then this one comes on the market. And I knew what the other one went for because we were competing against it. But the listing agent didn't know. So when we put in our compelling offer for the one down the street, he was a tad underpriced. We actually got a good deal on it. Even though we came in 100, 120 over, it was still much cheaper than the one that was just down the street. So.
Wow.
But they didn't. But that listing agent didn't know because it hadn't closed yet, and that other agent wouldn't tell him. So, but I knew because we had competed, so I knew what the other offer was.
Right.
Anyway, yeah, food for thought. Just strategies on how to navigate the market as it starts to heat up. I don't see this going away. We have this happening when we have over 7% interest rates. And we're having some heavier listing weeks, and it's still progressing.
Yeah.
Competitions are getting more and more common, and the sheer number of people competing. I mean, there's at least 3 or 4 agents I talked to that had over 20 buyers with offers on the table.
Wow.
In Snohomish County. And there was only, to be fair, there wasn't that many listings that particular week. I think it was like, let's see. I feel like it was 30 that had set offer review dates, like 30 total listings that had set offer review dates. It was like 90 or total listed that week. And there was like 30 that set offer review dates. And of those 30, I think about 25 made their offer review date. And there was quite a number that had 5 offers or more. And most of those went 10% or more over asking. And some went 20% or more.
Wow.
So
yeah, it's getting tight. It's getting tight. No question about it.
It is. Yeah.
It's a little scary that it's getting tight at a 7% interest rate, because it might not get much looser at a 6% interest rate. But
it's going to get tight. So it's going to there'll be more competition. So so this is something to think about too, you guys. So as interest rates come down, if they do come down, this ain't going to get better. This is going to get a lot worse. So it will cause prices to go up significantly. So, and the competitions will get more fierce. And so, thinking about that compelling offer may end up being a winning strategy, or looking at those listings that have been on the market for a while. Now, those listings are not going to last forever. So we start to run out of listings that have been on the market 30 to 60 days. As we get into a hotter market, those start to drop like flies. They do get chewed up, because all of a sudden they start looking like really good deals as the market starts to go up around them. It's pretty hard for a listing that's been on the market 60 days to start raising their price. So, and as other listings start coming on the market and they're going up as the months go by, they start to look like really good deals. So keep an eye on those older listings. Can be a gold mine.
Sage advice.
How about you? How about you, Dan? Do you got any special loan programs we can talk about?
Want to talk about our crypto loan program? That's pretty special. Nobody's doing crypto loan programs.
Crypto.
Well, we've got a loan program out there. If you own crypto, right, and you want to buy a house, and maybe you need a down payment or whatever, maybe you just want to buy the whole house, it's not easy to cash in your crypto and buy the house. And plus, a lot of folks don't want to cash in their crypto because it's been, to be honest with you, it's been the number one investment class, I think, over the last 10 years, right? So a lot of folks that own their crypto, they don't want to give it up.
They don't want to sell it.
They don't want to sell it, but then they need to buy a house. So there are loan programs out there that just came on the market where you can borrow against your crypto holdings. Specifically, it's for Bitcoin and Ethereum, those two. And you can borrow against those holdings and use it to buy a house. It's a pretty darn good program. So it's just something to keep in mind.
It's a slick new program, right, Dan, where they've simplified the ability to use your crypto to purchase a home or use it for the down payment. Because it used to be you had to jump through more hoops. Is that right, Dan? Because you could always use your money that you got from crypto to buy a house, but now they've streamlined the process to where it's easier, right? That's how I understand it from Barry the other day, right?
Yeah, that's a big part of it. But the other part of it is you can access your cash without having to sell it.
Oh, so that's the kicker. So
you
don't actually have to sell your crypto to access the cash. So you can essentially borrow against it. Is that right, Dan?
That's exactly what you're doing. You're borrowing against your crypto. You're borrowing against it, and then you're, hoping that it keeps going up. But that's the rationale behind it. But it makes things a lot more convenient. And if you want to hold on to your crypto and also buy a house, there you go. You've got an option.
So essentially, crypto has been around long enough that banks feel
a bank
a bank feels secure in lending money against crypto.
Yes,
Right?
some nutcase bank out in Florida is willing to do this. It's their money, not mine.
We're live. Sometimes you gotta watch the shit that we say. We should watch it.
Well, you get to the hour mark here, and
nobody's watching.
Things get a little fast and loose. But yeah, there's not. In all seriousness,
it's about happy hour.
Yeah, well, my thoughts wander just a little bit, and but
a little more creative.
But the truth of the matter is, these guys are sticking their necks out, right? Because this crypto, yeah, it's gone up, but there've been a lot of big drawdowns. Big drawdowns.
It does this thing. It always goes like up like this, but it does these big valleys in the middle.
Yeah, that's right. So, they're taking a lot of risk. I'll tell you that much. And but more power to them. They're willing to do it. And it really does help if you've got a lot of assets in crypto and you're looking to buy a house. There you go. You've got an option there.
There you go.
So
I like it.
It's an interesting new program that just came out about when did it come out here? About not quite 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. So it's hot off the press, and so it's
Nexa Mortgage, right, Dan?
Nexa Mortgage. Yes, that is correct. Nexa Mortgage. Yes, you got it down, Kat. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So if you got crypto, you want to buy a house, Dan has a lender.
Talk to Kat, and I've got a guy, a nutcase down in Florida.
Got a guy. Can make it happen for you.
I can make it happen for you. That's right. So, well, I'll tell you what. On that note, let's
sign up, Dan.
Let's pop the cork. Call it a day.
All right.
And toast a big week ahead.
Yeah. Yep. Got to write an offer this weekend.
Ooh.
Happy about that.
Congratulations.
Yep. Yeah. Yep.
That's nice.
Fun. Yep. We'll see. There's an offer review date, so I'm a little nervous about that. But
I'll keep my fingers crossed for you.
No, somebody's got to win.
Somebody's got to win. Might as well be you.
That's right. All right, Dan. Hey, thanks for doing this.
Okay, Kat. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Gonna go offline here. See if I can hit my